It is now our pleasure to listen to the Honorable Dr. Subramaniam Jaishankar, Minister of External Affairs in India.
Foreign Minister Hugh Todd, Finance Minister Dr. Ashnish Singh, Minister Deodat Inder, Mr. Peter Ramasamy, Mr. Jay Shroff, High Commissioner Srinivas, my colleague Additional Secretary Srinivas, members of the CII Business Delegation, ladies and gentlemen. It's obviously a source of great delight, satisfaction for me to be amongst you here today, the first Indian Foreign Minister to visit Guyana. And it's in keeping with the times and with our relationship that following 2 days of very intensive official discussions, we should be here for a business event. Now, this is not a normal business event because it is one between the fastest growing economy in the world, Guyana, and the fastest growing major economy in the world, India. And I say that because there is an enormous change actually taking place in both our economies, in both our societies, in our capabilities. And the challenge for policymakers like us is how do we see that as an opportunity? How do we actually find the connects, the touch points, the viability, the business case really to make the best of it. Now, fortunately, this year, we were enormously assisted by two important events. The visit of President Irfan Ali to India, followed very soon thereafter by the visit of Vice President Bharat Jagdev. Now I say this because quite honestly, what was till perhaps a year ago a smooth, non-controversial, friendly, pleasant, perhaps even business-like relationship was suddenly infused by a great sense of energy, a new sense of possibilities, a connect at a leadership level, which actually encouraged so many of us to travel here today and be amongst you. Now, it wasn't just that they came and, said the right things and tried to motivate the system. In fact, very soon after their return, we got a proposal from President Ali to Prime Minister Modi, setting out focus areas which the government of Guyana felt should today be addressed by the two sides. And Prime Minister Modi immediately agreed. And it would interest many of you to know that my visit and the Joint Commission meeting, which I had the honor to co-chair along with Minister Todd today, was actually preceded over the last few weeks by a very intensive interaction in these particular focus areas. And I would like to acknowledge the contribution of many of my colleagues who have been the anchor persons for this endeavor on both sides. Now, when it comes to our ties, yes, we are both political democracies, we are pluralistic societies, we are market economies. There is a lot that we have going for each other. But somewhere, there's always been a belief that geography has been an impediment. Of course, politics and history have tried to overcome that for some time. But I'm sure most of you would agree that a much more lasting solution is actually economics. And we are therefore particularly privileged today that as Guyana enters a new era, as it embarks on this very exciting journey on its quest for prosperity and development, there is a possibility, there is obviously a very strong interest on India's part to be a partner in this journey. And that, in many ways, is what our business gathering today is all about. Now, the focus areas that President Ali and Prime Minister Modi had agreed to includes energy, obviously, health and pharma, development partnership and the capacity building that we do, agriculture, technology and innovation, defense, infrastructure, among other things. And even as we hold our discussions and identify new opportunities, it's also a matter of satisfaction for us that we are actually seeing a pickup in numbers. Obviously, a large part of that when it comes to trade is in energy exports from Guyana. But I would say if one dissects those numbers, which I sat and did in preparation for the visit, it's very interesting that there's also, in fact, a diversification in trade. There are very clearly new demands which are being generated by the Guyanese economy. And clearly, both the interest and ability on the part of Indian exporters to meet that. Now, the other, I would say, tradition that we have going for us is that of development partnership. Some of our colleagues have spoken about it, but among the projects that we have in this country are a cricket stadium in Georgetown, a center of excellence in IT, modernization of sugar plants, installation of solar traffic lights, and most recently the supply of an ocean ferry, which I believe I will have the pleasure of visiting tomorrow. Now, I think Minister Singh made this very valid point that when we look at the convergences between us, the comfort between us, a very important one is actually that of language and that of traditions of law and administration. I would even say, in many ways, I discovered today commonalities in bureaucracy, which actually allow us to work that much more easily. And we do see, in the aspirational efforts of Guyana today, a lot which looks very familiar to us. And certainly from the Indian point of view, I can say that we have every confidence that the capabilities, the manufacturing, the services, the technology that India generates today, to the extent they are relevant to the modernization and the prosperity of Guyana, they certainly are factors that we would like to get in play. Now, I think that's probably the right point for me now to actually give you my sales pitch on India itself. And that is really one where I ask the business personalities in this room really to appreciate and understand the big changes which have taken place in India. And the easiest way, of course, of describing that is to say, we jumped 79 places in the World Bank's Ease of Doing Business ranking. We were 142 when Prime Minister Modi came into office. We reached 63, but I'm very sure we'd actually be very much higher, but they stopped issuing these rankings at some point of time. But it's not just ease of doing business. You can actually see that today in the competitiveness of India. that India's exports in goods, for example, has really moved from the 300 billion level, which it used to be before. Today, it's getting closer almost to a $500 billion dollar level. And of course, there's $200 plus of services as well. It's also visible in very interesting things which are happening in India. And a large part of our discussions, both today with the President and the Vice President, as well as yesterday in some of which was in a more informal setting, was actually a comparison or I would say an evaluation of the changes in India and what they could potentially mean to business and economic activities in Guyana. And among them, I would certainly highlight the digital delivery in India, the fact that in terms of the effectiveness of governance, in terms of actually a social welfare system which we have, which we are in fact creating over the last few years, we have used digital tools in a manner and a scale which perhaps has not been done before by anybody. And that offers a lot of possibilities, including possibilities like the UPI, the Unified Payment Interface, which has the potential of significantly reducing business costs. The second change in India was something which one of my colleagues touched upon, which is in the health and pharmaceutical domain. And I think all of us are agreed that in the COVID and post-COVID era, this is a subject matter to which we all attach much more importance than we did earlier. And the challenge there is really irrespective of the resources at hand, how does any society, any government construct a universal health system on an affordable and sustainable basis? And the history of the world, by the way, is littered with examples of failure. Examples of failure by the most powerful countries in the world. So how do we actually look at this problem today? You know, we are developing countries who have the benefit of the experiences and the challenges which those before us have faced. And can we put our heads together in this respect? A third issue, of course, is in the again the basket of health and I would say food security, because here too COVID has accentuated concerns. You know, when we saw supply chains disrupted, I don't know how it worked in your part of the world, but certainly close to you know, our part of the world, especially with the Gulf, there were very deep concerns whether food supplies would continue during the COVID period. And in fact, we had to make a special effort as a country to ensure that this was maintained to the Gulf. So, but, you know, there is a lesson there, and there's a lesson which has been driven home by the uncertainties of the Ukraine conflict, when we saw that wheat wasn't coming into markets and there was a very sharp spike in the price of food grains. And the lesson, therefore, is a certain degree of self-sufficiency. Clearly, in the era of globalization, it is absurd for any country to say that, you know, even a big country to say that we would make the bulk of our requirements. But it is also equally irresponsible of countries to say that they will be completely at the dependence of world markets. That the last few years have shown that whether it was a pandemic, whether it was a conflict, whether it sometimes can be climate events, or whether it's just market turbulence, that while globalization is a reality, globalization doesn't work 24/7, 100% of the time for the needs of every country in the world, and therefore it is prudent to build partnerships which actually give any country that capability. And I noted that Minister Singh said that it was Guyana's objective not to be overly exposed to a single domain and to actually diversify its economy so that it has a more stable foundation on which to rest. And I can assure you that in that effort, certainly India sees itself as a partner. Now, we have already some Indian companies here. In fact, I'm looking forward to visiting a road project after this event, which is being built as we speak by an Indian company. There's another one which is involved with the energy sector, some who have been active in rail roads, in power transmission. But I'm really very appreciative of the CII, of Mr. Shroff and his colleagues, that they have journeyed here along with me, because the way to build this partnership, we have the political comfort that I want to assure you. What we need today is for the political comfort to translate itself into greater business comfort. And that business comfort will only happen by doing business. And the more we see our business people in either country, the more there are events which bring people together, the more we spread the word of mouth about the possibilities in each other's economy. I think that's really the way to grow the relationship. Some of the preceding speakers also talked about Guyana being a part or the center of a regional hub. I want to say that is very much in our. It's not just in our thoughts. Yesterday when I came, I would like to thank Minister Todd that due to his efforts, we actually had a meeting of the CARICOM foreign ministers. I spent much of the day yesterday with them. And the meeting was very useful because I was able to get across a single table the viewpoints of different countries of a region, and then find the common elements that I could address collectively, which from my perspective would actually give me a somewhat larger scale and a better viability to address those demands. But the bit, we agreed on a lot of things, but I would particularly flag for your consideration that we agreed that it would be our endeavor every year to hold an India CARICOM Business Summit, 1 year in the Caribbean, 1 year in India. So I'm pointing this out to CII with the hope that it would be an early mover in this regard. The other issue, again, on which we spent some time was really capacity building and the importance of training and exchanges. We have, again, a fairly long and a good history here, but we do appreciate that given the transformation which has now begun in Guyana, that there would be the need really to expand the professions and the domains where such capabilities and skills would be needed. The flip side of that is also that for some years now, the government of India has actually consciously embarked on a policy of envisioning a global workplace, that our efforts have been on to facilitate the mobility of Indians wherever there is a market demand, to strengthen businesses across the world. So there too, my expectation is that this is a very profitable area for the two of us to collaborate. So overall, what I want to say is that for me, this has obviously been a very important visit important politically. There is a lot that we have discussed in terms of how we see the world, how we work with each other in different forums. But the core of our relationship is a bilateral one. We take satisfaction in the new vistas that have opened up in Guyana. From our side, we would like to be as supportive as we can. We believe that our partnership in that sense needs to be refreshed to address a whole set of domains which I can see today emerging in the life of Guyana and its people, and it would truly be our privilege to do that. And in making that happen, I count, like all the previous speakers before me, I count completely on the energies and the efforts and the dedication of the business community. And I just want to say that your success is really at the heart of our success. Thank you once again for the opportunity to speak to you.
Thank you, Dr. Subramaniam Jaishankar.